There is a persistent argument that despite the giant strides made by Nigeria as an independent nation, that she has indeed failed to effectively utilize her maximum potential, especially in human capital development. Poor quality of leadership and endemic corruption are being touted as the direct consequence of failure to make the citizens the centerpiece of state policies. With another window of opportunity beckoning through the forthcoming elections, there are expectations that a deliberate and conscious resort to electoral discipline can always mark the beginning of a national rebirth for a country with Nigeria's endowments. To have a conversation around this, we are now being joined by Mobolaji Akinwunmi, a former banker and chief executive officer of Ideas, Inventions and Innovations Nigeria Limited, a firm which focuses on green energy development, information technology, and agri sectors. His new book, Nigeria, An Uncomfortable Truth, The Reawakening of a Sleeping Giant, will provide the fodder for our discussion around this subject. Great to have you here. Good morning, Mr. Mobolaji.
Good morning. Nice being here
today.
Taking me.
Because I haven't had the privilege of reading your book, I'd like for you to tell our viewers what the book is about and its main objective.
Well, basically, good morning, viewers. Well, basically, the book is practically saying that Nigeria is one of the potentially richest nations in the world. Potentially means that, we have so many resources, that we can play around with that can help, the nation to earn good foreign exchange resources. But as of right now, we've not been able to utilize those resources, very well. So the book basically deals with, areas of leadership, that can, also take care of these challenges. I always like to quote this by saying that leadership is an esteemed position of service, demanding a high standard of discipline and integrity. Leadership requires a vision and a mission in service. Leadership demands self-denials, self-sacrifices, and it is looked upon by the leader as a mirror. So we have to ask ourselves, when we look at our leaders today, what do we see? Are we able to enjoy the luxuries that they're enjoying, especially when they're supposed to be the servants of the people? The interest of the people is supposed to be at the foremost of whatever they're doing. They afford, we vote them, they go into the houses of either House of Reps, Senate, President. They drive SUVs, 50 million naira all around the place. They can afford hospital bills. If they can get a place to treat themselves over here in Nigeria, they're quick to travel abroad, England, Pakistan, America. Is the woman selling plantain on the street, is she able to afford those sort of facilities? For instance, if anything happens to a person who is a layman on the street, and she takes her child to the hospital, the first thing as we all know in Nigerian hospitals, is that they would ask the person to come and pay a deposit of 250,000 naira. Where does a woman selling plantain or an artisan who is a bricklayer, get 250,000 naira? So if you're not careful, they might lose, that sibling. So these are the things that, this book is about, that we have to take into consideration as leaders.
Understood. So the title of the book itself is quite intriguing, An Uncomfortable Truth, The Reawakening of a Sleeping Giant. I want to ask you about this. Would you say that this title encapsulates Nigeria's social-political status quo as we speak? Is this giant about to be awake?
Yes, the giant. Yes, yeah.
He's the giant sleeping.
Giant sleeping.
Yeah,
giant in slumber.
Basically, what I would like to say is that the giant, was awake in the First Republic. We were awake. We had all the Chief Azikwe, the Sadwanas of Sokoto, the Chief of Bafimalawas, the Okotiebos. Nigeria was awake then. They were doing so many things. In fact, I haven't learned that Lagos, the West, then had even a mission in England. There was true restructuring going on then. So the giant was awake then, but he went to sleep, obviously, during the military, period. So right now, I believe there's still the raw materials there that can wake up this nation, to do, what we can do, because you can see, especially from the youths that we have in this nation today, in the IT technology, the flutter waves, the, different sort of, inventions coming up. it gives you, the belief and the hope and the faith that, yeah, we can still wake up this nation, but with the right leadership, we'll be able to wake it up, It's not by magic. It's not something that is done overnight, but if it's well planned, if there's a focus, we should be able to, do it and get it right.
Do you see that right leadership on the horizon?
Well, as of now, you see, what we always say, because I don't want to, punch, because what has happened in the past. There's been so many mistakes. What we need to do now is to move forward. But, a lot of politicians get into the streamline of things, not out of passion. They don't have any vision. It's just to them like a business. So when you come with that kind of ideology, into politics, you want to run the affairs of men, human beings. You must have a blueprint of what you want to do. But you see, a lot of our leaders don't have it. And those that have it don't even have the wherewithal, the political will to see it through. They see the luxury of office, the money, the trillions of dollars, and, all those ideas just get sidelined. So you need a leader with that can be focused, that can have a clear vision of what they want to do. And with that, we are on our way to Uhuru land.
Okay, well, Nigeria is 62.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are reluctant to celebrate. Even though in Abuja yesterday, we saw some vestiges of celebration.
Yeah.
Even in Borno, for the first time in 12 years, they had a parade. My question to you is, Nigeria at 62, what is the uncomfortable truth that must be told, that must be said to power, to the authority, in terms of a giant in slumber that needs to be awakened? What's that uncomfortable truth? Is it contained in your book?
Yeah, it is contained in, especially in the areas of leadership, where
share one or two with us in terms of uncomfortable.
You see, when we're young, they used to tell us that our parents used to tell us that, look, the truth is always bitter. When you are doing something wrong, your parents will call you out, this is not supposed to be what you're supposed to do this way. And they tell you the truth, and you find it very, very bitter. It's uncomfortable, it's bitter, but you learn, through that bitterness, So those are some of the uncomfortable truths, uncomfortability in the nation. We look at corruption, for instance. A lot of people, I was having a discussion with someone yesterday, and he was trying to tell me that, look, corruption is not the issue, bad leadership is not the issue, and I'm going back and saying, look, you cannot say corruption is not the issue, because in everything that is happening in this nation today, it's embedded, in corruption. Corruption is a cancer. And that's the uncomfortable truth. When this, I don't want to go, label any government or whatever, but when this administration was coming into office, every Nigerian was hoping, with a track record, of these guys, that they were coming and tackle corruption. But as of today, I don't think that we've seen anybody do anything. It's like corruption has been treated with kid gloves. When you're talking about your accountant general, 60 billion, it's all perception also. And nobody's coming out to say, oh no, this guy didn't steal 60 billion, or he didn't do this or don't do that. That's all the sort of things are going on around in the society. So those truths are very uncomfortable. We have to deal with corruption. We have to deal with education. You want to hand over this country to the next generation.
What do you say, Mr. Akinwunmi, sorry to Boston, to people who say that leadership may not necessarily be the problem, but that even followers, there's a popular thing that was going around social media the other time, that Nigerians don't, the problem they have with leadership is not about leadership. It's about the fact that they prefer that the leader, comes from their tribe and their family. And there's a saying that people deserve, the type of leaders that they get. So is the type of leaders we are getting not a reflection of the generality of the people in Nigeria?
Yeah, I've had that also. And I think some people try to shift the blame, on the society. And I was thinking about this also yesterday, and I thought to myself, I said, look, if you have a family, a close-knit family, father, mother, and a child, 6-month-old child, and the child is growing up, are you going to leave that child to do whatever he wants to do? Normally what I think one would do is to teach that child, the values of the system, civic responsibility. Don't do this, do that, respect your elders, don't steal, Don't bring in loot of the treasury of the country and use it to train, and personalize it. These are the things that we, try to teach, our children. So it's just like the leadership, the government. The government, they're a parent body, so they are supposed to. We can't shift the blame on because I was telling someone recently in England, I think about 2 years ago or something like that, when there was an oil problem that we used to have in Nigeria, where there was scarcity. And we found out that people were driving their cars, chasing tanks that were carrying petrol, like we do over here, trying to find out which petrol station is going to go and dock the petrol. This was in England. So where I'm going to is that when there are no laws, anything can happen.
Right.
So the leadership in this country has not provided that leadership. We must. What's the National Orientation Agency doing? When I was growing up and they were doing this Biafra, I still remember there used to be this music on telly. Stop careless talk. Know what to do. Join the civil defense. Blah 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 blah. You understand me? What's the National Orientation Agency doing? To reorientate the mind of the people.
I like that point you made about reorientating the mind of the people. Yeah. The government should do more with leadership. Now, when you look at the Nigerian economy and the impact of diaspora remittances, last year, Nigerians in the diaspora remitted approximately 20 billion naira into the country. That is $20 billion into the country. Thank you for that. That is 4 times, the foreign direct investment. Now, we see Nigerians continuing to excel, even in leadership positions in the diaspora. And, this is because they are provided the enabling environment to do so. Now, what would you say to the leadership, the Nigerian leadership, in terms of engaging with Nigerians in the diaspora to form a better country at this point? Good
question. Well, what I'll say to that is that Nigerians in the diaspora are also watching, when they see an enabling environment, because you have to create an enabling environment. I laugh when our leaders today are talking about creating employment. And I'm looking at them and thinking, look, you have no electricity. There's no power. A lot of companies have gone out, Dunlop, the Michelins, they've all run out of the country simply because their molds, the electricity spoils the mold and it costs them millions of dollars. So they've all gone out. So how are you going to create that employment? How are you going to, is it by magic or is it by just giving people money, giving them 20,000 naira each, and which is not transparent, which you cannot get a feedback on? That's not going to create employment. But you see, when the guys in the diaspora see that there's a leadership that is coming into office, and this leadership is genuine. This leadership is talking about creating this, making sure that education is well thought out, making sure that the economy is well run. There's electric, because look at electricity, for instance. I'm working on generating electricity from the wind at home. I'm building it. I'm not buying the gadgets. We're fabricating it at home. We want to generate it from the windmill. You see, there's the sun. I have solar. I'm sure you guys have solar at home. There's so much, ways that we can create, energy to fuel employment. So those are the things that the government should be able to do, and when the people over there see that, because nobody's going to come here, when there's insecurity, for instance, I run a small farm towards Ibadan. I'm looking over my shoulder because I don't want to get there and some people are, trying to, understand what I mean, trying to capture you or kidnap you or whatever. Yeah. So there must be security. There must be an enabling environment to give Nigerians in the diaspora the confidence that, look, okay, let's go home. Because I'm sure they want to go home. We've all stayed over there. We know that, look, home is still the best. But we must create that enabling environment to make us, be able to live here and live here comfortably.
So, very quickly, please, because we don't have a lot of time. I'm glad that you mentioned electricity, because one of the areas your book also looked at was green energy development. Of course, we've seen the inauguration of the Nigeria's Climate Change Council. What are your expectations, very briefly, of this council in relation to the implementation of last year's Climate Change Act?
Well, climate change, when you say climate change, you'll be talking now about the rain, the weather, and all those sort of things, right? Because I remember the other day, Donald Trump was disputing the issues on green and all those things. Yeah, it's good to think about that, because even recently, the weather over in Lagos has been very cold. Things are changing. In England, it's been very hot. So I'm thinking, are these guys doing something that we all are not aware of? All of a sudden, it's getting colder here, it's getting warmer there. So yeah, we have to take cognizance, of, the climate change and all those things. But we have to set the structure, the foundation, because these people who are there today, you know, the previous ones and the ones today, they've not done anything that can give anybody confidence that they have the ability or the capability to even discuss these sort of things, these sort of issues. Even when they begin to discuss, end of the day, people are suspecting, oh, these people just want to collect some money and go, you know, so that is the, you know, thought process of people. So unless those thought processes, those perceptions are dealt with, all this talk about green energy and all these things, NIN, people just look at you and laugh and they go do what they want to do.
All right. So in one word, is your outlook optimistic or otherwise?
My outlook is always very optimistic because once the right people get into office, then I'm sure that you know, Nigeria will be a better place to live in.
Understood. All right, Mr. Mobolaji, Akinwunmi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.